Now, we are about to commence our next and last presentation of this conference on case study on fashion digitalization and leveraging technology for sustainable and profitable manufacturing. So now, please join me in welcoming Mr. Gunish Jain to the stage. He is a Managing Director of Royal Datamatics Private Limited, a technology solution provider to the apparel industry. He has over 20 years of experience in the technology domain and is a thought leader to promote how technology can be leveraged in the apparel industry. He has a degree in computer engineering from Delhi College of Engineering and MBA in operations from Vanderbilt University. Over to you, sir.
My name is Gunish, and some of you know me, some of you don't. I have some experience in the garment industry, and when Tony ji and Kesar ji or Colonel Saab mentioned to me that why don't you do some talking about the industry, I said okay, I will share some of my experiences and I'll give you a thought process of how successful manufacturing can potentially happen. Now, this is one way of doing it. There is no one size fits all as far as a successful manufacturing is concerned. But the objective of this presentation or this talk today is to provoke thought, to provoke you to think, and to look at maybe things a little differently than what we've been doing. Our industry has always been talking about, efficiency, how do we improve, what is the SAM value, how do we have quick changeover, a lot of those things our industry has talked about, and those are typical things. When it talks about digitalization, I think digitalization as a topic has been talked a lot, and what I'm going to talk a little bit today about is what is happening in the world, because it's important to understand the context of what are we trying to do. And I think there are things which are happening in the world which we think as garment manufacturers don't affect us, but I think something which we should think about. Okay, so with that thought, I will start with the presentation. Would welcome any suggestions. Anybody wants to stop me in the middle of the presentation, please stop me and ask a question. We'll not keep it at the end. So we'll try to keep it more interactive. I'm the last presenter, so it's always a bit of a challenge. Alright, so the topic I have is fashion and digitalization, leveraging technology for sustainable and profitable manufacturing. Okay, what does it mean? So I'm going to give a context of what the world is, what is happening in the world. So first, everybody reads what it is? Millennials. Anybody who knows what a millennial is? Can I get those? Okay, can you pass it along? Anybody wants to tell me what a millennial is? What's the definition of a millennial? And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to distribute chocolates. It's always nice to make these things interesting, right? Let's have some fun, yeah. Even if you come close to it, yeah, why not?
Born after 2000.
No, that's not a millennial.
1996 chocolate.
You don't get a chocolate, you're way off. So,
1996.
I'm sorry?
1980, 1990.
You got it. So you got the chocolates. So people born in the 80s and 90s till 1996 are millennials. Okay. So there you go.
That was insane.
Yeah. So that's what millennials are, and I'm saying all these things because how does it affect us, right? Because it's important to understand the context of what we're trying to do. So millennials are people who are born in the 80s and 90s till 1996. After 1996 to 2010 are called Gen Zs. Okay. So what's happening with the millennials? The millennials, first of all, don't want to get married. They don't want to have kids. Having a child in America costs you how much? Exactly, $300,000. No, there was not a chocolate for that, but there is going to be one for another. Okay. So it costs about $300,000 to have a child, which means if I'm working, I need to make almost with taxes, before taxes, I need to make about $80,000-$90,000 extra every year to support a child. If I have 2 children, I probably need $100,000 more. So what's happening with the millennials? I don't want a child. if I am getting a salary of $150,000 and I have children, I am living not very well to do. But if I don't have kids, I can live very comfortably and I really don't need to make $150,000. And what's happening in America, in these countries, is a lot of millennials don't want to do full-time jobs. They're saying, I'm going to work 20 hours a week. And I'll tell you how is that affecting the business and the business environment we are operating in. Okay? There is something switching off, so, alright, that's first. Please stop me if you have any questions. Next, demographics. Everybody knows what demographics means. Let me explain. Demographics means how is the population structured. Okay? That big shift happening in demographics. Okay, I'll ask another question. This is with the chocolate. Alright. If there are 100 people in Korea today, South Korea, based on the current trend, how many great-grandchildren would they have 80 years from now? Let me rephrase the question. 100 children today, 100 people today, if they were born today, how many great-grandchildren would they have, which will be 80 years from now? Which means, hypothetically, if the population is stable, you will have 100 people, they will have 100 great-grandkids. If the population is not increasing or decreasing, what's the number? Well, no, you won't get it. Any number? Anybody wants to tell me? Always good to garment industry के अंदर ये थोड़ा सा होना चाहिए, right? That kind of different thing. Huh? Somebody said 10 before.
10.
Almost.
20.
50. You don't qualify. Huh?
10, 20, 30.
Okay. Anybody else? I will give one final.
Around 40.
50.
45.
Okay. He gets it. It's 6. The number is 6. All right. So okay. Congratulations. Number is 6. That means if so, Korea is finished. South Korea is finished. They're done. So South Korea, I mean, nobody needs to attack the country. 30 years from now, you can simply walk into the country. So, demographics, and this is an extreme case. You look at Italy, you look at Europe, you look at a lot of the Western countries, their demographics are so bad right now that within 40 years from now, you don't even have to go to those countries. So, when I look at all our manufacturing, we talk about all US, European brands. Because हमको अपनी नाक के आगे कुछ दिखता कुछ नहीं है, right? That's what the demographics are telling you. The demographics are China is falling, but China is so huge it will still keep the spending will keep going up. All right. So I want to lay this context because it's important when we talk about any strategy and digitization and what's happening, etc., etc. It's important to understand the context of what's happening. दुनिया में होगा रहा है. And as government people, as people, we really keep forgetting. We think we are in a silo. We are just outside of what's happening. All right. Okay. What does ROCD mean in the retail context? Well, in any context actually. Anybody heard this term? Anybody from the retail industry? There is a chocolate for this. Yeah, there you go. Man, this group is collecting. Okay.
The paper was leaked.
Return on capital deployed. What does that mean? अगर मैंने 100 रुपए किसी में लगाए, मुझे कितनी रिटर्न मिली, right? Retailers live and die by this number, ROCD, return on capital deployed. And where is the biggest capital deployed of a retailer? In inventory. In inventory. So what's happened in the industry, and that's why it's important to understand the context of what's going on, is that retailers, how they worked in the world. Till about 1960s, early 70s, manufacturing used to happen in places like Germany and US. Then it became expensive. They went to the next cheaper country, which was Japan. Japan became expensive, then went to Korea. Korea became expensive, they went to China. China became expensive, they went to Bangladesh, India. India was doing, I think India is really not a player basically in textile in that respect. You've got Vietnam, you've got now Myanmar and Ethiopia. Okay? So the focus of all the retailers in the last 50-60 years was just to chase a cheaper labor market. H&M did nothing. H&M said, shirt बनानी सस्ती, पहले जापान में ले जाओ, फिर यहाँ ले जाओ. So the entire focus of their sourcing ecosystem was just to create capabilities to make a shirt. Just to create capabilities to make a shirt. वो 20 शर्ट की अगर 15 भी बन जाए, but 1/5 the labor market, it's you got a cheaper 50-cent garment. Now you reach Ethiopia, you've run out of Mother Earth. You can't go cheaper than Ethiopia. So they hit Ethiopia a few years ago, and now what are the Western countries faced with? They are faced with one very big problem, and you live in the Western country. What's the biggest problem they currently face? Inflation. Inflation is something, it's because of supply chain. They think it is supply chain, but inflation in those countries is there to stay for, because they had forgotten what inflation meant, because they kept chasing cheaper labor markets. And especially in the garment industry, where productivity, really speaking, the productivity of a shirt has not improved really in the last 50 years. It's not improved. It's just gone to a cheaper labor market. And so therefore, when you talk about ROCD, now what they are saying is, you know what, I'm carrying so much of inventory, now how the hell do I keep improving my profitability? Because he has a pressure on profitability. It's like saying, I need to reduce my inventory, and that's why retailers are not smart people. Unfortunately, they are people who are not very. So then let's just cut inventory. And what's happened in the last 10 months? They stopped buying. A lot of them reduced buying, and you saw that phenomenon. Why? Because the analyst told them you're having too much of inventory. And so they cut down inventory. And they're going to go through this, I call this a bipolar buying patterns. When you cut inventory, then you buy more, then you cut more, then you buy more, you get these mood swings, right? So, so when people are talking about ROCD, as manufacturers, how can I improve my ROCD? In ROCD, I improve by reducing the inventory carrying that is being done by my customer and my retailer. And when I talk about digitization and sustainable manufacturing being that, it's important to understand the context of what's happening. Demographics, उनके पास लोग ही नहीं है. उनके ऑफिस में लोग नहीं आ रहे because वो बोलते हैं मैं मिलेंगे नहीं, मुझे काम ही नहीं करना. They want to cut down inventory levels. So, given this context, how can we create a winning manufacturing strategy which is digitally enabled? Alright, everybody understands the context because it's important to understand context, because sometimes we jump very fast into solutions without understanding what are we really solving for. Alright, anybody wants to add anything to this? I'm going to go to the next phase of my presentation. No? Okay. Yes.
One thing I want to add on the e-commerce space. The e-commerce space, the gross margins are 80 to 90%.
Yes.
So the inventory does not have the biggest cost becomes marketing. Just throwing that.
Absolutely. So to Kamal's point, in e-commerce, inventory is not your biggest cost, marketing is your biggest cost. Absolutely. And we can talk about the economics of that business as well, because that business model is very different, and we need to understand, because we don't have the front end costs. We can say real estate is really a marketing cost when it comes to offline retail, so we can actually look at what's substituting what becomes what. So, but regardless, you need to look at how you optimize inventory, and in e-commerce, you're talking about unlimited aisles, you have a different set of problems. All right. Given this context, what is it that is required from manufacturers? A good, and I'm talking about, guys, again, talking about a manufacturing strategy. I'm not saying this is the strategy everyone should have. I'm talking about one's manufacturing strategy. Alright. चल रहा है? नहीं चल रहा. Yeah. How many minutes I have? 15. 15? 15 ही बोलूँगा. ओए ओए reaction time को react ही नहीं करा था जल्दी. Alright. So one of the critical things is of a manufacturing strategy is reaction time. A manufacturing strategy is reaction time. From the time you think about a product to the time it is in front of a customer, are you measuring it? Is it being measured or not? And when you look at the garment industry, you've got different types of customers. People जो बोलते हैं एक साल में produce करते हैं, हम यही करते हैं, ठीक है, उनके लिए that's it, fine. There are certain people who are wanting garments in 6 months. There are certain people who are wanting in 4 months, certain in 3 months, certain in 4 weeks, certain in 4 days. Right? The question is, where is the business growing? No guesses, right? The business is growing in this quick reaction business. So reaction time becomes critical. So when you need to have a digital strategy on manufacturing, reaction time is something which you should measure all the time. What is your reaction time as an organization? Single shipments, multiple styles. ये तो सिंपल है समझना. हम traditionally our concept has been एक shipment भेज दिया style number so and so, send the goods. Right? That's the traditional. कोई manufacturing से सभी लोग manufacturing से है ना. हम बोलते हैं shipment जानी है. Shipment means one style. Style pack हो गया, हाँ जी हो गया, finish हो गया, ready हो गया. That concept and where the business is growing and in terms of digital is because what digitization is allowing you to do is allowing your customers to handle this complexity. You know why customers used to place 50,000 piece ka a single order? Why did they do it? Why? What is one of the, there are various reasons, but one important reason is administratively is much simpler here. I just create a budget, I make 50,000 pieces, that's it. But but you don't sell 50,000 pieces on a single day. Yeah, maybe you're selling 2,000 pieces every day or 500 pieces every day, depends on the rate of sale. So you don't need 50,000 pieces on a single day, but imagine if a retailer could order garments every morning and say, I need 400 of this, 300 of this, 200 of this, 100 of this, please pack it and send it to this store, this store, this store, this store. That's what's happening. That's where the growth of the business is. So when I talk about a manufacturing strategy which is digitally oriented, digitization helps you capture or deliver on a certain segment of the market which wants this level of complexity of SKUs. Okay? Single shipments, multiple styles. Infinite scalability. Okay? What does that mean? Previous session, somebody talked about capacity as a constraint, right? It is a constraint. Capacity is a physical constraint on capacity, right? And why don't people increase capacity? Because if I am, let's say, 1,000 machines, I'll have a demand of 2,000 machines for 4 months. What the hell am I going to do for 8 months, right? So that's why this prevents a lot of people from expanding, needlessly. But when I talk about infinite scalability, what are the other elements of constraints you can eliminate from your business? For example, design scalability. Can you create a lot more designs? Actually, you can almost do infinite now. This whole model of having designers, etc. will die. It's dying, it's finished. Actually, it is history now. You will have design curators and that's it. Designers, so we'll talk about how do you infinitely scale up your business model. So you take whatever are the constraints in your business and then look at how you can unconstrain it. So I think there digitization is an important strategy. And again, I'm talking about all this and I'll talk about a small example at the end. We will talk about what we've been doing in terms of our business. The disaggregated organization. I think I used the right term. What does disaggregated mean? 10 minutes now, huh? What does disaggregated mean? Scattered. We don't have to be physically one organization or physically one place. We don't have to be physically a single entity. Digitization allows you to create an organization which is completely scalable. It's a networked organization. where all pieces are not controlled by you. What our retailers said, and this is what happened with us, and I'll tell you the reason India's exports stopped growing, and I analyze why our exports stopped growing. It's when everything started becoming in-house. That's when जब हमारे fabricator वाला business खत्म हुआ ना, people who are old enough to know the fabricator business तक हमारा business grow करता गया as a share. I mean, and again we can talk about various things. I'm just giving, and again the idea is to provoke thought. But when we started having in-house, and why in-house work, why did in-house? हमने अपनी खुशी से किया था in-house. किसी ने अपनी खुशी से नहीं किया था. यहाँ garment exporters बैठे हैं. Anybody did in-house for their happiness? Amit, you are there. Nobody did it out of happiness. We made a heck of a lot more money when we were doing outsourcing. But what happened? Our buyer said, मेरे को नहीं चाहिए कि कोई कंप्लेंट, कोई फोटो खींच जाए कि ये गारमेंट ना अनएथिकल तरीके से बन रहा है. एक काम करो, यहाँ पर इन-हाउस लगा दो. क्यों? इन-हाउस बना हो गई, किसी और को बोलना बहुत आसान है. तुम ये सब कुछ अंदर कर लो. And I remember telling it to one large buyer, I can say them in H&M. मैंने बोला एक काम करो, सारे वर्कर आपके रोल पे डाल देता हूँ, सब इन-हाउस कर लेते हैं. वो कहते हैं पागल हो गए. मतलब सर बात तो आपने वो भी ऐसी की ना. And I'm being very blunt about these things because at the end of the day, the disaggregated organization is the model I feel which will work in India the best. And again, the idea is thought provoking. It might work for others, it might not work for others. Something to think about, right? And I'm going to give a case study. Alright, okay, everybody understand this aggregated model? Alright, the return of the jugaad. Anybody is a Star Wars fan? कोई नहीं? You've heard the phrase, the return of the? Okay, the return of the jugaad. Everybody knows what a jugaad is in the manufacturing Indian context. सबको पता है? अमेरिका में उसको मॉड्यूलर बोलते हैं मैन्युफैक्चरिंग. अंग्रेज लोग उसको मॉड्यूलर बोलते हैं, हम उसको जुगाड़ बोलते हैं. If you look at Shein, 95% of Shein, everybody knows Shein, right? Shein सबको पता है ना? 95% of Shein manufacturing is happening on factories which are no bigger than 15 to 20 machines. 99, big percentage. उनकी फैक्ट्री में घुस के देखो, वो ऐसे 5 बंदे बैठे वो बना रहे हैं. Right? So again, I'm not saying this is how you 5 machine की factory बनाएंगे and all that. But then I think something to again think about, how do you have this flexible manufacturing? People talk about line change, change over, ये सब है. If you want to capture a certain type of market and digitization is enabling you to do this very micro based manufacturing because that data is coming in and you're optimizing decision making, right? So the return of the jugaad. Right, and I'm going to I don't have extra slides now. Okay, so I'll give you an example of a case study. Okay, so everybody knows I run a tech company and I've been in the garment industry for many years. And what we decided to do last year was create a new age kind of a virtual manufacturing organization. And we looked at technology, we looked at how a new kind of organization which is इसको बोलते हैं ना blue sky thinking बोलते हैं इसको, totally new, fresh, what kind of an unconstrained organization. How would I have built a new organization? How would I have done it? So what we did was, we said first let's look at design. We said no designers. We will only have one design curator, no designers, and what we did was created a platform. Designers, there's plenty of them around in the world. We said you keep pumping in designs into our platform. For every design that gets selected by our buyer, we'll pay you 500 rupees. For every design for which we ask you to make a tech pack, we'll give you 1400 rupees. For every order that you get for every piece, we'll give you 1 rupee a piece. And we have designs coming in almost at a rate of 60 designs per day. I'm not paying anything for it, only the designs which get selected. So we have a huge inventory of designs and we just have a curator who's curating. Scalability. Because that's what customers want. I want, and of course, we've segregated them by the kind of look and etc. And that's how the tech platform we've built. Second, so we looked at the whole concept of how a manufacturing needs to be done. Very clearly, one thing which was coming us and staring us in our face was, if we really want, so the segment we went after was the test and buy model. It is self-explanatory, test and buy model. What happens in an e-commerce? You don't need 5,000 pieces because you don't have 50 stores. You can start with 50 pieces, whatever sells well, you produce more of it, whatever doesn't sell well, you kill it. Very simple. Okay, so what we did was we tied up with Amazon. Amazon has a private label business. We told them we'll launch 4 brands for you. It was owned by Amazon, and we launched 4 brands, and we did about 540 options, which every option is a style plus color. So 140 unique styles, 540 options. The total number of pieces in that was 1.25 lakh pieces. So if you do the mathematics, it's about averages 200 pieces an option, 210. Okay. Now, when they started selling, it was owned by them. We were tracking sales on a daily basis. They were giving us sales data every daily basis, and then we could figure out, so very quickly, based on the raw rate of sale, which has to be killed, which has to be doubled down. And now we've generated a business, or we generated a supply where everything is coming through us of 50,000 units just to that, or whatever 50, 60 styles which are your hits, and you've got super hits and hits. Bad styles we killed. Okay. So what we did was we just doubled down on this. So that's one strategy of a daily, weekly release of orders. What we began to do, and we went to micro manufacture. We didn't go to any of the big guys. We said, small guy, you got 75 machines. We'll work with you. We'll build your capability. We will arrange the fabric. We will do everything. We just focus on producing the garment. He's getting everything there. He's just basically a fabricator, you can say, for all practice. But it's a pack shipment. And we were able to train them and say you should have the capabilities to run 4 or 5 styles simultaneously. And again, through technology, through routing of the fabric flow, etc. Integration with retailers on sales and inventory. Very, very small production runs. So you're talking about production runs of 100 units, 150 units. But aligning it, saying if I don't need to, and we looked at only a few categories. So there was only a few categories which we looked at, not every category. Looked at what is the changeover and said, okay, let's run 100 piece runs, 150 piece runs, 100 piece runs. So those are the runs we were running, and we've been running actually. Creating micro entrepreneurs, and I look at my factories which are there. We're running 2,000 machines, 3,000 machine factories. I think. It works for some. I think there's also a big case for creating micro entrepreneurs where if you created a business where you know the design, you understand the concept of the customer and etc. There is a case for unleashing a lot more productivity by having micro entrepreneurs in your system, providing them an infrastructure, and being like an incubator to a micro entrepreneur. Because then he's actually the kind of efficiency a micro entrepreneur can get out of his production line. No RFID in the world can do it. No system in the world can do it. You can get that level of productivity and efficiency out of the system. Okay, and you can supplement them with platforming of fabrics, with actually integrating design with what kind of fabrics you are using, etc., etc. So there's various technology intervention helps you in optimizing a lot of that. Using AI to determine sales and fashion trends. It's not the job of just the retailer to understand what AI is and what fashion trends are. I think we all understand that, and I think understanding that is important. Though it's another fashion tool that we implemented to be able to understand the business. And finally, strong integration with the supply chain. It's no longer good enough to know every hour what is happening in your supply chain. You probably need, and the integration is very critical to have it with your fabric mills. Fabric mills सुनते नहीं है किसी की, and जो fabric mill ना सुने उससे भाग जाना चाहिए. So I think integrating your fabric, so fabric mills and that T1 supply chain is extremely critical, and I think having that conversation with the mills. The good thing about this downturn in the business which has happened, exports में थोड़ा downturn रहा है last 6 महीने, लोग सुनने को तैयार हैं. So use that opportunity because people are now willing to listen and change the way, even the mills are willing to change their behavior, they're willing to integrate because the Indian mills have, Indian retailers have also started, demanding some of these things. Because at the end of the day, inventory reduction is a very important. If you can enable your customer retailers digitally and using digital technology to reduce the inventory levels they are carrying and have a quick reaction time, I think there is a winning strategy around it. We started last year. We're hitting about 4.5 lakh pieces a month, and we will probably hit 2 million pieces a month by 12 months from now. So there is a scalability of that business. That's it. Any questions?
You've got so many chocolates left.
No, there's still, yeah.
That was just a teaser.
Any other questions? Otherwise I'll take it off. Okay, cool.
Any
Thanks.
questions? Request you to please be on the stage. So thank you for the interactive presentation on fashion and digitalization. Your insights have shed light on the evolving landscapes of the fashion industry. We greatly appreciate your contribution to the conference today. Now, as a token of gratitude, I would like to invite Mr. Amit Agarwal for presenting memento as a symbol of our thanks to Mr. Gunish Jain. Presenting memento to Mr. Gunish Jain. Can we have a round of applause?